So about a month ago, we were talking about changes to flood insurance. And one of the regulations I think they were saying was even if your condo has flood insurance, that as a owner of a unit, you had to have a separate flood insurance policy for your unit. Was that correct? Am I saying that right?
So part of the regulations that were passed were that if you have a citizens policy that includes wind
Mm-hmm.
and you are in a high risk flood zone, then you have to have flood insurance. So that's single family, condo, everything. You had to have flood insurance. And Citizen said, well, if the building has a master policy, then you just need to insure for the contents. So you don't have to get any dwelling coverage on the flood insurance. You just need to have the contents to match the citizen's contents policy. And it just doesn't make sense. You're on the 7th story of a condo. What do you need flood insurance for? If we have a flood, we got bigger problems, on the 7th story.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so they...
Start building New York.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So they just made a change to that requirement. So you're not going to be required to have flood insurance on the condos anymore.
That is a big relief because I felt that was another thing that was really going to affect the market itself for people to be. I felt like if that happened and they enforced it, there were going to be a lot of people fleeing the condos. And then,
well, flood insurance isn't super expensive, especially if you're not in a flood zone, right?
Well, I mean, it wasn't that expensive on the condos anyway, because the coverage is very small. Typically, on a single family house, you're gonna have $250,000 in dwelling coverage, and then whatever your contents are. So on a condo, typically your dwelling coverage is only 50 to 80,000. And then your contents are usually pretty low. So the policies weren't expensive, but it was just a stupid requirement.
Nonsensical.
Yeah.
I thought it would be expensive too, because you were in the flood zone, because I felt like we've always been told that if you're in the flood zone, it's pretty expensive. But if you're not in the flood zone and you get a flood insurance policy, which we highly recommend usually, it isn't as expensive and it's worthwhile doing.
Yeah.